Asia, how does publishing a board game differ from publishing a book? Is there an editorial process with board games, or are the publishers more hands-off? So there's more of a development process than an editorial process. There's definitely some editing of rules and editing of box art, and and the art and the instructions and the copy on the back of the board game box. But most of it is around development. So you have this game that you have an idea for a game, you build the game out, you pitch it to publishers, and the publishers are like, oh, that's pretty good, but and they'd send it off to people to test it out, who come back and say, oh, it doesn't really work with 2 players very well, here's some suggestions, how would we possibly make that work well? And then we sort of go back and forth with that. So for example, again with Tiffin, it didn't work as well with 2 players because you could kind of math out what was going to happen. So we had to do a couple of things. One is we had to make it so every time we play the game, the setup is slightly different, so you can't just figure out what is going to be left in the card deck or the route deck and math it out from there. And another thing is we did do something called the competitor, which is basically every few turns, the competitor or a robot player basically takes a turn and is competing with you. So you can't simply go, well, if I leave this, then I'll come in second on this piece of the game, and then I'll come in first on this piece of the game. It was more like, hopefully I'll come in second or first, but this competitor could actually jump in and take the lead on something. So that's just one example. And then you go back and forth with the developer, who again tests the game, and then you also take it and you test it again with your board game group, and you test it blind, and you test it at conferences. Testing blind is when you get somebody else to test it for you, so you're not standing there trying to influence the game or how it's played. And that goes back and forth until you feel like you have a game that works well. And sometimes it goes back on the shelf for a while because you just realize you've got something broken, or it's just not fun. A lot of board game design is ping-ponging between, wow, it works really well and it's not fun, and wow, this is really fun but it's totally broken, it makes no sense. And then eventually you find this happy medium. Whoops, camera just moved. Thank you, Asia.